Awesome. We are following the podcast back up with Adam Kavanagh. Jeepers. Mate, you're in quite a den there. What's going on? You're back home.
Yeah, I'm back in Blackwater,
Yeah.
Central Queensland. To be honest, actually, this is where I spent most of my childhood. I'm actually in a caravan up the side of my parents' house. They years ago when I was a kid, they got this caravan, and I took first dibs on it. Obviously, like I thought it'd be pretty cool to live in a caravan. And anyway, yeah, like 17 years on, and it's still my room. But it's more of a storage now. Obviously, it seems I'm traveling around, but I thought it might be a cool spot to sit in here and do the podcast in here.
Absolutely, mate. So what, you lived in the room, or what was the story there?
Yeah. When I used to work out here in the mines, I like through the mine I worked at, I had the option to have my own house, but I just chose to stay here at my dad's house and just live in a caravan in his backyard.
Yeah, I'll have to get you to pause there. Hold on a sec.
Yeah.
Hello. There you are. No worries. Just got to fill in an eye report.
At work, eh?
Yeah. Got no patience, but sometimes people come in, obviously.
Yeah.
Right. How's the shed going?
Yeah, pretty much finished it, hey?
Yeah. Is it for storage?
Yeah.
Or?
It's at my dad's other house. He has a house in another town about 40 minutes away from here.
Yeah.
And he just wanted a bit like I'm not sure if he's possibly going to live in that house, but he just built a big bloody shed there. So
yeah,
my brother's a carpenter, so he sort of got roped into doing it. So
fair enough.
But being Christmas holidays, no one really wanted to help, so he called me up to give him a quick hand because he knew I was in the area. So
yeah, is that why you had to leave Giggins, or?
No, it was from my other brother actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure if you want to touch on that subject in the podcast, but yeah, my other brother was like battling pretty severe. Oh well, he's a lot better now, but he had a bit of mental illness and stuff. So
yeah,
I'm going to take him up north with me. So
no, we'll talk on that. Ooh.
How you been anyway? It looks like you've been swimming every day.
As many days as I can get, like this, like we had nobody come booked in today, so I decided to go for a swim as well. But yeah, when I come out to casino, I don't usually go for a swim. But the days that I'm in Ballina, get home from the gym, go for a swim, and I'll get Billy up. Timing usually works out. So. But yeah, the beach is pretty buzzy. It's like there's a massive chute that just goes across the beach and out. So if you weren't a confident swimmer, you'd feel a bit sketchy, but it's not that bad.
Yeah. Casino's like further back out inland, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll be back in a second, mate.
Yeah, no stress, man.
Awesome. So I think where we left off there was I was saying you used to live in a caravan.
Yeah, I guess I haven't upgraded much from that. I'm living in my car now in a camp trailer, so I kind of downsized from the caravan, I guess.
Yeah. Did that just sort of give you like a little bit of privacy, maybe? 17 years old, live out of the house, but not.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, I have 2 brothers and a sister, so it worked out good getting the caravan. Everyone got their own room, so yeah, everyone got their own privacy. And yeah, I don't know, just something about living in a caravan just seemed a bit different, bit out there. I don't know. Yeah.
And so when you're working in the mines and going back and forth, were you sort of in prefabs in the mines and then come back? Was that luxury or was it a downgrade?
I don't know. Like I lived and worked in the same place. I didn't like do fly in or fly out or drive in, drive out, whatever you want to call it. So I've still got to come home to the caravan every night. So I guess
Nice. Yeah. And mate, you've got that head just over your right shoulder. What's the story behind that?
Oh, what's that? That's the it happened to be really good. It just happened to be in the background, but that's that fallow deer. The first deer, the first animal that I took with the recurve bow.
Nice.
So.
And the same skin behind it, or?
Yeah, that's the skin from that deer as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And did you?
Yeah, pretty cool.
Did you tan that yourself, or?
Yeah, I did actually. I did a method called, it's like a natural tanning called brain tanning.
Nice.
And so most tanning's normally chemically tanned with like chromium, but maybe if you go to wear that on your skin, it's not the best. Like you know, if you want to get into the hippy dippy stuff, like you can absorb those chemicals into your skin. And this is a more traditional method that, like brain tanning, obviously, like every animal has a brain the correct size to tan its own body, which is a pretty cool little fact. But for this, I didn't actually use the deer's brain because I didn't want to wreck the skull. So I used a solution of egg, olive oil, and natural soap, which creates the same consistency as a brain. And anyway, yeah, when you there's a lot more to it than that. Like the process is pretty sort of in depth, but yeah, you rub that solution onto the skin and it naturally cures the hide. Yeah. And apparently it's like it's the softest leather you can, I guess leather's the wrong word to call it, but it's the softest hide you can kind of make is the brain tan. Apparently this one here turned out like cardboard because I didn't quite do it 100% right, but anyway, it's still learning. It was my first attempt. So
yeah, I know when it comes to co-products for the venison market, the deer leather gets sent off to make high-end handbags and that sort of stuff. Mate, did you teach Kai, or the same person who taught you taught Kai? Because I saw she was trying to brain tan that goat hide that she got. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. There's a really awesome guy down in Melbourne called the Bush Tannery. That's his business. And through a friend of a friend, I heard about that guy and got into contact with him, and he was pretty nice. Like he gave me a lot of information for free, and just through conversation, and he was so excited when I got the deer and just told me how to make the solution, and that's who I learned off basically. So Kai and I, we both learnt off the awesome guy, the Bush Tannery. And actually Kai was lucky enough, she got to go down and catch up with him and do it first hand with him. So I guess she probably knows a bit more than me now. But
was that who was teaching her how to fish, tan fish and tan frogs? Was that the same person?
As well, yeah. He does all the natural tanning. It's absolutely awesome. So it's cool that there's someone out there that into it.
No, it's pretty awesome, and I guess like me, you would have been pretty proud of Kai going out there and using the recurve as well, and one being guided onto a goat and then doing it herself. And now I see she was out yesterday looking over the goats and sort of seeing their behaviours and things, and looks like she's going to try and go again by herself, which is pretty awesome. How does it feel to be one of the people that introduced you to the recurve bow, mate?
Yeah, it's awesome. To be honest, I told her when she first took on the challenge, I said to her, the compound bow would be a better option because the compound bow is a lot easier. And she was sticking to the guns, like well, not sticking to the guns, but she was sticking to the recurve traditional bow, like right or wrong, that was the direction she wanted to go. And I was like, okay, like I said to her, this is probably like one of the biggest hunting challenges you'll face. Like it's definitely the hardest way to hunt. And yeah, she stuck to it, put the work in, shot it every day, and yeah, she's reaping the rewards now, and harvesting her own food, which is awesome, as well as the benefit of getting the skins. And yeah, like it's awesome to see. Like I've been lucky enough to see the whole process from start to finish, from like beginner to, I'd have to say she's there's not many female bow hunters, so and I don't know any female traditional bow hunters, so she's definitely taken on a big challenge there.
Yeah, and she'll have to get in contact with another Adam Greentree and his wife Kim, and he should take both those two out for a fox or a fallow hunt on their place, and see who goes better, the compound or the recurve.
Yeah, no, well, I know they're friends, so yeah, who knows what'll happen in the future. It's possible that something like that will probably definitely happen, actually. So
I will be very excited to see that happen. That'd be so cool. Mate, speaking of the compound bow, you got your Matthews, is that right, back out in action, and how did that feel?
Yeah, it felt good. I wasn't getting enough time to shoot the traditional bow every day, which, like, you have to be obsessed. You have to shoot it every day if you want to, if you're serious about it and you want to do it and be ethical. And with a lot of the other things I was up to, I didn't quite have the time to shoot it every day. So yeah, went and pulled the old compound bow out from under the bed and blew the dust off it, and I've picked it back up. I'm pretty excited about it, actually. Like it's where I started. Like that's where bow hunting started for me. So I thought it'd be good to get back to my roots. And yeah, it can be challenging. Like bow hunting's obviously challenging, whichever way you look at it. Like whether you look at it like through the compound or traditional bow hunting. But yeah, I don't know. It just felt right. It felt like what I needed to do at the time. So yeah, I haven't actually got to take it out and use it yet, but yeah, I definitely will be soon. That's for sure.
What really got you started, man? Like now for me, I look, I'm keen on hunting, and like I said, Adam Greentree, and then there's people like Joe Rogan and Cameron Haynes and Stephen Aller and all those sort of guys that do the bow, and you think, man, that's awesome. And even in New Zealand, one of the really well done shows over there is called the Hunters Club, and one of their main guys, Andre, he's into bow hunting, and he's got a cool Instagram page, Train Hunt Thrive. But a few years back, you wouldn't have ever, you knew bow hunting was a thing, but you'd be like, oh, it's too difficult or whatever. What got you into it, man?
Well, I grew up on a farm, so I was pretty well used to hunting. Like my brothers and I, we'd walk around and shoot rabbits, and we'd eat them, and we were used to doing that. And it was actually my brothers that got me into it. So they, for whatever reason, a lot of the hobbies I have now, actually, they started me off. Like they started it first, and then I sort of got into it. And they started getting into the archery. And at first, it wasn't really something that I was interested in. But the more they did it, I got kind of really interested in it. So I started doing it. And then it was funny, they kind of lost interest in the bow hunting and archery. And then I really enjoyed the challenge of it all. And yeah, it all stemmed from there, actually. And then there's a few really well-known bow hunters in Australia. So you have everyone knows, in the circle of the bow hunters, everyone knows Adam Greentree, but there's a lot of other bow hunters that really started the scene in Australia, I guess. Like a fella called Brad Smith had these DVDs, and it's really where it started out for me, because my brothers would be watching these bow hunting DVDs, and like I sat down and watched a few, and I thought, yeah, right, yeah, like this is actually pretty interesting, this bow hunting stuff, like the challenge of getting really close. And yeah, I guess it was through those DVDs and just my brother's passion for bow hunting. That's where it really started out for me, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know for myself, when I was working summer jobs in the aluminium smelter, that's a sort of place that's pretty well male dominated. So all the magazines in the place were either car magazines or hunting magazines or fishing magazines, and there's about the time there's probably only 2 or 3 New Zealand hunting magazines, so they had plenty of Australian ones. And yeah, like you go reading through those, and no one's using a firearm, obviously, because of the firearm laws, and people were taking down these massive boars with a bow. And I was just thinking, that's incredible. How does this even work? And now, yeah, like you say, the Australian bow hunting scene's pretty strong, and hopefully we'll get Eamon Waddington to come on the podcast and have a chat about anything from photography to bow hunting to skateboarding to coffee and cooking up a mean meal. But and then of course there's I can't remember his last name, but I think he's Nick, and he owns Ozcut Broadheads.
Yeah, Nick Morton. Yeah, I've been in contact with Nick, so watch this space in the future. Yeah, who knows what'll happen there.
Oh, awesome, man! That'd be good to watch. And yeah, again, if Nick ever finds his way onto this podcast, it'd be awesome.
Oh, you definitely have to get him on. I'll reach out and I'll get onto him for you. That'd be awesome if you could get him on.
Yeah, he went over to New Zealand just recently and got himself a tar, and I just love the he's really good at getting what his face looks like after he's successful, because he's always blown away, and it just shows how much effort he's put into it, how much planning he puts into it, and then how ecstatic he is that something so difficult's come off. No, he's cool. Do you sort of get out of the next page, mate?
What's that? Sorry, broke up.
Sorry, mate. What do you get out of the next page?
Yeah, actually, he's obviously into all pretty similar stuff to myself, I guess, with the bow hunting and the fitness. And I don't know, man. It's pretty cool that he's started his own. Like, he's seen a gap in the market there with the broadheads, like with the archery hunting tips, and he's really carving out a space there. So it's pretty cool. Like, and I guess, yeah, like I went to a hunting expo, I think it was last year, and he was there, and we'd been in contact through social media before I went up and said g'day to him and actually met him in person. But yeah, he's a real genuine good dude, and just, yeah, obviously, yeah, I don't know, it's just, yeah, he's definitely carving his own sort of way there, and it's cool to see. So that's what I love about his page, I guess. Yeah, he just sort of, yeah, getting to follow along, and he's obviously really passionate about bow hunting. So,
no, you say about going to a hunting expo, they're good places to touch the flesh and make a even deeper connection than just saying, well, that's awesome, and what gear are you using, or all of that, or how was the experience and stuff on social media. It's always better to be in person, mate, and it's something you and I need to do. And it was a bummer you were in the neighbourhood just recently. You spoke about other things you're doing, and you were getting in some training and pushing Keegan Smith for chin-ups. What was that experience like living with him, mate?
Oh, it was absolutely awesome. The actual story there. So for the last few months, actually another bow hunter that I knew through social media, he got into contact with me, and he just offered me a job down around Gympie, so pretty close down to Byron, around that area where you were. And yeah, he just reached out to me and he said, how would you like a job? And at the time, to be honest, I'm still not real keen to work just yet, but I thought, oh yeah, like this will be an awesome experience, a bit of an adventure. So for a few months, yeah, I did a bit of tree, what's the word for it? Yeah, it's like a tree servicing, tree lopping kind of work, like just cleaning up storm damage and stuff. Anyway, while I was there, it was an awesome experience. But yeah, Keegan reached out and he said if I was interested, like he'd love to had me come down the farm and hang out and, just sort of swap some knowledge and yeah, just see what sort of eventuated from catching up. So yeah, I left the job that I was doing. So I was only there for like 3 months. Anyway, yeah, I went down to Keegan's and with no real plan. I don't know if he had a plan or not either, but yeah, we caught up and just started, it was good. I think he loves a bit of a challenge. So yeah, it's sort of, I didn't take long. And anyway, we're in his little shed gym that he has out the back and sort of started mucking around, just seeing who could chin up the most weight. And it kind of just kept carrying on and carrying on. But he definitely got the better of me a few times. He's definitely, yeah, he's definitely a lot stronger than me. I think I didn't have the best form in the chin ups, but I got 160 kilo rep. So I'm just gonna say that I got that one on him. But maybe not really, because my form was pretty bad. But I'm gonna own that one, the 60 kilo chin up. So
absolutely, man, that's epic, and I know that's what makes his sort of not really retreats. They're sort of intensive, is what you'd call it, when he gets a whole bunch of people together. That exact environment of just bucking around in a gym and a little bit of competition and pushing yourself means that you reach whole new levels. And like you say, sharing of knowledge and collaborating on things means that everybody grows and comes away totally different people. And I'm sure you got a lot out of that, and likewise for him.
Yeah, look, what Keegan's got, he's definitely, he's got an awesome thing going on out there. Like just the vibe of the place and the direction that he's taken with the real movement project. Because actually, Keegan sort of come onto my radar a couple of years ago. Actually, like it was through Facebook. I seen this ad about he was like juggling or something, and he was pretty jacked. And I was like, "What's going on here?" And I thought this is pretty interesting, because at that time I used to just go to the gym and lift heavy weights, and that it wasn't really healthy. I guess it was more like the unhealthy training. Yeah. And then yeah, like his sort of stuff come onto my radar, and it was like real movement and like actually bettering yourself and like what's true human potential. And it was all stuff that like had never crossed my radar before, and I was like wow, like there's something to this. So yeah, it was cool. Like I started following his content, and like he really puts out some really good stuff. And then yeah, like to get the opportunity and go there and just to actually get to experience what he's up to. And he, to be honest, like just yeah, like I was just so thankful for the knowledge that he gave me. Like just yeah, he's a proper awesome dude. I was a bit hawky at first. He pulled out a Rubik's Cube and gave me a Rubik's Cube, and I thought, oh, here we go. Like I wasn't real keen on that, to be honest. But yeah, like just he just knows. Like he's yeah. Like I'm stoked as now I know how to do the Rubik's Cube. But yeah, it was so awesome to be there. Hey, like just to see his juggling skills, and yeah, man, like he's going somewhere. There's definitely that the real movement project's definitely going somewhere. So it was cool to be part of it, and hopefully I'll get to work with him in the future. That'd be pretty awesome as well. So
absolutely, I was lucky enough to spend a couple of hours up there. Billy was still reasonably young, and we were all on her time, so it was only a couple of hours. But yeah, Mitch Pike was there as well, and all we're doing is sort of we cleared the area where the pigs are, and we moved some bricks, and we had some really good conversations. There's a good concept from a sports psychologist in New Zealand that works with the Chiefs rugby team, and that's exactly what he does every now and again. Is he's got this big pile of bricks in his backyard, and he moves it from one spot to the other, and it's just about doing something mindless, finding your thoughts. And he's like, yeah, it's really good. He's telling me about how he got guys cutting down trees, and it's like it's physical, it's mindless. You've got a task, it's got to finish, and you've just got to keep going and get it done. And yeah, no, it's really awesome, and hopefully I can find some time to get back up there and have a good chat, and hopefully him and I can do a in-person podcast as well. It'd be good, because the first one,
that'd be great.
the first one we did, I put up a post on my blog the other day about the top 5, and yeah, Keegan's for a long time was the number 1, and it's still number 3. It's like I say, he's got so much knowledge, and you managed to impart some knowledge on him, and he had to colour pig by himself in the end because you left him hanging. Did you get any feedback from his experience, man?
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. Yeah, so I had to dart off a bit early. I think it was the next day, or it was a day or two after I left. He called me up on FaceTime, and we did a FaceTime while he processed the pig. So I still sort of got to help him to a little bit in the end. But it was awesome. Like I showed him a few things when I was there, and he put it to practice, and it was cool to be part of that experience. I would have preferred to have been there in person, but it's cool with technology. Yeah, just got to FaceTime him while he was processing a pig, which is something I've never done before. But that's just who Keegan is.
Yeah, mate.
So. And
I don't know about you, but the hardest part is the taking the life part, and then
definitely, yeah.
Especially once you get the skin off or get into it, all of a sudden just immediately turns into food. What is it about you that you know that it's going to be hard, and you feel that deep inside? What is it that, I guess the term is probably justifies or makes it all right in within yourself, that something's had a good life, and if it wasn't for the way that it was raised, or on the flip side, when you took him at a wild animal, especially in Australia with his predators, or animals just starve or dehydrate or whatever, what is it about you that you can sort of justify that you're doing not necessarily the right thing, but in terms of your survival, the right thing?
Yeah, I guess I've had this sort of conversation with a few people, and I guess definitely not to put the ethical part aside, but let's just say most people will go to the shop and they'll buy meat, and there's no thought into that at all. Like there's no where did this come from? That was an actual animal. Like no one can really, that meat doesn't really have a face. Like you don't have any really respect for where that comes from.
Mm.
But how I can justify hunting is that, I mean, I just know, just in my body, my body, it craves meat. So I just have that feeling, it's obviously the right thing for me to be doing is to eat meat. But then when I'm the one that's taking that animal's life, I'm there in its last moments, and it's not like it I wouldn't say it's a good feeling or a bad feeling, but it's just like a feeling of, I don't know, it's like respect, I know where that meat comes from. And that's what makes me okay with it. Yeah. That I was the one that took that animal's life. So you will, not to get too far down the rabbit hole of the hunting world, but I mean, it's the wrong way to put it, but there'll be people that'll go to the shops and buy meat, but then they'll turn around and then they'll be like, oh yeah, hunting's so bad. But it's like, well, if you eat meat, at the end of the day, someone's got to kill that animal, but just because you're the one, you're not the one that killed it, that makes it okay. It's okay to eat meat if you didn't kill it. But I don't know, it's a really big thing to take an animal's life. So I think it's important. It's a really humbling experience. It's not rainbows and butterflies when you take an animal's life, but that's what gives you more respect for it. It's just the whole experience, it's real, it's brutal, it's the real world, and it's in a way, that's why I like it. I know the whole process, so I can have respect for what's really going on. So, yeah.
And like you say, respect and responsibility for the process. And I sort of think that there's levels to it as well. And it's not until you get exposed to wild game or really well-grown animals and the flavour and the colour and all that, when we were at the supermarket, we tried to buy organic and free range, and then we got given some chicken from Brooklet Springs, who do pasture raised free range chicken, and like, yeah, and it was, it's delivered to your door and it's packaged really well, and that it's fresh, and it's just night and day. And then you go back to the supermarket and you get it, and you just go, oh man, what am I doing? And then you start to look at, we've got a plot of, a little dirt patch in our backyard that we're not doing anything with, and then you get some spinach from the supermarket, and you're like, what the hell? This is organic, but what the hell am I doing? What the hell am I doing? This is so disappointing. It's in a plastic container, wrapped in plastic. You're like, oh, this is such a waste, when we could be growing that. And then on top of that, you say about, you eat meat and you're responsible for it, and if you eat meat, then you should consider that what you're doing. But by the flip side, equally, if you're trying to grow vegetables, you're killing so much. The best way to fuel the vegetables is with things like seaweed and fish meal and blood and bone, and like I've just started, when I do a broth, I've just started burying the remains of that, the carcass of that in the garden, and even just in a short space of time, that the dirt in their backyard's gone from this really sandy, grippy sort of stuff to having a real life to it and being dark and flourishing. And life eats life. It's continuous. It's the Lion King might have glorified lions, but at the same time, it did promote a key concept that it's a circle of life.
Yeah, that's me. Like, we're living in a society and kind of a world where I guess not everyone can go hunt, but I think just being aware, just I think that's all you have to do, is just be aware of where your food comes from. And obviously, when you do have to buy it, like, that's all I can do. When I obviously, with catching up with Keegan and all that, like, you can't just go hunting, and in those situations, like when I go north, I can pretty much nearly 100% live off wild meats. But that's all you can do. Like, with your choices and what you buy, when you do have to go buy meat, that's how you can, like, have your say in, like, what where the food comes from. Like, obviously, with the better choices of meats, like, at least you are buying something that's, like you said, free range and organic and stuff like that. Like, that's what you can do. Like, that is I think that's we definitely, not everyone can go hunting, nor would anyone want to, but I think it is important to know where your food comes from, and to have some, like, have respect at least.
Yeah, man. And what we're sort of diving into this topic, you and I both shared a Pete Evans podcast yesterday. He was with Sean Baker, who he is the most listened to podcast that I've done, Sean. And he didn't make the top 5, but he's number 6. So they're good episodes to go and listen to if you haven't brought up on those. But they're both. The weird thing I find, it happened before Christmas again, is there's 2 sort of things where they went after Pete Evans just for the sake of it. He's like the media whipping boy, and there's an official document out there that it's a planned and concerted effort to sort of discredit what he says. And one was looking at the sun and getting up and getting the sunshine on your face, which if you follow my Instagram, I did that this morning and even tagged Peter. And then the other one is this meat topic, and the fact that meat is demonized. And I think it was The Guardian sort of said, going vegan's the best thing you can do in 2019. And then Jay-Z and Beyonce have backed it up, going vegan, it's a challenge there. But, it's really not the answer. And monocropping and all that sort of carry on, it's just not the full story. And how do you sort of feel that you and I are probably at the other end of the spectrum of things, but you look at it and just go, this is just bizarre. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, actually, I'll touch on that sunscreen topic just before you get into the meat. Actually, obviously I'm pretty pale, and I used to be a lot more pale than this. And actually, I used to wear sunscreen all the time, and that's actually, I'd get sunburn all the time too. And when I started going paleo and stopped using chemicals and all that sort of stuff, I stopped using sunscreen, and then I stopped getting sunburnt. So that's just a bit of food for thought there. But anyway, I'm not going to say, I'm just going to say that's my experience. But yeah, something about not using sunscreen and just being like, not being silly in the sun. But yeah, I stopped getting sunburnt. So I don't know, there's something funny going on there. So
the thought might not be that it's the sunscreen that, you know, might make you less sensitive or less adaptable. The other thought, and this is what we touched on in the last podcast with Michael Lewis, is that because the processed diet is so high in these omega-6s, and our ability to resolve inflammation, because that's what sunburn is, it's an inflammatory process. And so if you have a good ratio between those omega-3s and the omega-6s, your body can actually resolve that dermatological sort of condition. And say when we talk to Ivor Cummins and the two links between those two, Tucker Goodrich, it's this big common thing. And you know, Rob Wolf as well, he says it as well, you know, it's this big common thing that comes out when you go whole food, you're better able to deal with inflammation, you know, whether that be getting sunburnt or allergies or asthma or in your case, you know, thyroid disease. These autoimmune things all of a sudden just disappear. And so yeah, that just adding to that. But going back to the sort of media perception and the story being told, and it's always flip flops. One minute they're saying, you know, cheese and meat, you know, are part of a healthy diet, and then the next moment they're telling us that best thing you can do in 2019 is go vegan.
Well, to be honest, when I went paleo, my body, like even at this stage, even when I got really sick, my body was always craving meat and fat.
Yeah.
But I was just like, oh, you know, like that's just like I'm not going to say I'm 100% carnivore now. My body was always craving meat and fats. Like that's what it always wanted. But I'd look at my plate and I'd be like, oh, there's too much meat here. So I'd really ration my meat and focus more on the veggies. And then obviously it worked. I still got healthy and I feel fine and just everything's good. But just recently it was actually when I was just up in the Gulf recently, I was up there and I was really giving it some thought. And I was like, yeah, like maybe there's something to this, just my body just craving meat. But I was worried. I'm like, oh, you know, if I don't have my carbohydrates and my veggies and whatever, like, you know, like it's all, the boat's going to sink. Like I was just like, oh, you know, like it's all going to go to crap. And then, yeah, obviously this carnivore thing started to pick up a bit, and I've been really watching it and taking note, and just the more and more I see it, I was like, yeah, like this really looks like there's some going on here. And I love to experiment, you know, like, and if I was to ever recommend anything to anyone, I'd always want to try it first. Like I'd never recommend anything I've never tried myself. And I thought, you know what, like stuff it. I was really worried to begin with. I was like, yep, you know, like I might roll over and die if I don't eat veggies, but I'm going to give it a crack. And yeah, so for 3 months, it was actually, I got into there's a guy in England called Origins Nutrition. So he's 100% carnivore. And I'd been into contact with him, and I really picked his brain and asked him a lot of questions. And then I thought, yeah, like, you know what, stuff it, I'm going to give it a try and just see what happens. So for 3 months, I went solid carnivore. And to be honest, it's the best I've ever felt. My testosterone went up. My strength went through the roof. I wouldn't say my stomach was bad, but it completely improved. I didn't have any gas. Like it's kind of gross, but like my poos are really good. Like they were just spot on. Like yeah. I was blown away. Like the whole time for like the last couple of years that I've been paleo, like, you know, like definitely with certain foods that I eat, I must still have a certain amount of intolerance to some things, or maybe I'm eating too much of the wrong thing still, or I'm not too sure. But for some reason, just my body, it was the feeling I had initially ages ago anyway, that like I always felt like eating more meat. So yeah, I've just gone with it. And to be honest, it's actually the best I've ever felt. So it's, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, like you just can't, there's obviously like lots of diets and stuff out there, but you've really got to find what works for you. And for some reason, this carnivore thing really seems to be working for a lot of people, and especially a lot of people that have gone vegan are now turning around and like going 100% carnivore in the complete opposite direction. And a lot of these vegans that have like severe mental illness, or like, like they're having, the list goes on with the amount of issues that I'm not saying that veganism is bad, because I don't want to, like, I'm pretty open-minded. Like, I can understand why they do it for the ethical reason. Not to say that I think that's like, that definitely doesn't resonate with me. Like, I like to hunt, and I have the respect for animals. So I feel okay about eating meat, but obviously they're in a different boat. But like, I think if you look at it from what your body really needs, like some people obviously need meat, so you got to sort of make terms with that. But yeah, like to see the evolution of these vegans that are turning around and going 100% carnivore is just like, it's just like, I don't know, man, there's obviously a lot more going on. So.
And I think one of the positive things about having the movement like the carnivore, and January's World Carnivore Month, if anybody is interested, is that you do start to see the ups and downs of it, and like you say, the benefits for many people. And even in myself, for a long time there, I had hip issues, and I've ended up having a surgery on one of my hips, and like then sort of 2 years ago, I went back and forth on going sort of gluten free, and then started going keto, and now it's been a bit more relaxed, more paleo type sort of way. And then obviously the Christmas period hit, and came back in the new year, and all of a sudden, bang, my hips are tight again. And I don't know whether I've just been neglecting something, or it's my body saying, hey, you've had a little bit too much of those inflammatory things, and you need to sort it out. And I guess, like you say, you don't know what you weren't aware of, and when you feel great, and then you go back to your old habits, you soon realize that, hey man, I was living a life that was suboptimal, and like you said, trying to find that true human performance, and that's even the name of Sean Baker's podcast, is it? Human Performance Outliers, and he is an outlier. What was really interesting is I saw yesterday Michaela Peterson's YouTube channel's been shut down, and she's not sure whether it's because she promotes carnivore, or the fact that she's Jordan Peterson's daughter. But it's getting to a stage now where it's becoming a war of words, and really it's just a conversation where a lot of people actually think along the same lines, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's definitely a big push from, I don't know where to say the push is coming from, but there's definitely a big push for a more plant-based vegetarian diet, like 100%. But from a performance point of view, like maybe that's not the best option.
Yeah.
And maybe from like a human evolution point of view, maybe it's not the best option. So, like, I don't know where I do have a rough idea where the push is coming from. Obviously, like, there's like a bit of a vegan agenda there. I never thought I'd say that, but like, like, it's just, I don't know what's going on there, man.
Yeah, and you look at it, and big companies are sort of jumping on board it. People, the vegan agenda starts with the likes of Kellogg's and Sanitarium, but now they're also trying to, other people who are invested in soy and grains and all that sort of thing. They're seeing an opportunity in the market. When it comes to fake meat, all fake meat really is a bunch of vegetable oil and tapioca starch and soybean oil and all that sort of stuff just thrown into a blob, and this is fake meat, and when it's rubbish, it's toxic.
Yeah, I guess you only have to look at the food pyramid to see that it's based on like money and profits. I mean, if like not to say like any big conspiracies or anything, but I mean, if you follow like the money, like usually that's where any good conspiracy sort of starts. But like obviously, how I look at it is that when I've spent time out with the Aboriginal people, and even when I went to Africa, that like I just love to know what traditional people are eating. So I love picking their brains, and I can tell you, whenever you ask any of the traditional people, like what their favorite foods are, or what they would generally be eating, this is in my experience with the people that I've talked to, especially when I was up north. They didn't really talk about plants much.
Yeah.
Like definitely, like 100% they ate plants. Like, and they pointed a few out to me, but in general, when they moved around, they were moving around chasing the different protein sources. Like they'd spend times out on the coast chasing barramundi, and then obviously they'd be like stingray and all those sort of seafood protein sources. And then like, obviously it's pretty seasonal up in the top end of Australia. So there'd be times a year they'd move back inland, and then they'd be eating like more goanna and wallabies and stuff like that. But I mean, if you just look at it from the point of view, like a lot of Australian plants are pretty toxic, and the stuff the Aboriginals had to do to make them edible, I don't know, man. Like just like not like I don't want to say I'm on more to one side than the other, but just I really like to know these questions, like this sort of stuff myself, and that's why I love spending time with the Aboriginal people, because just talking to them, like, you know, you sort of get an idea of what they've been eating, and obviously it's working great. I mean, like the traditional way they were eating was obviously working fine, and that's what I mean. And then I think that's when you can look at like what a true diet is. Like if you looked at what they were eating before our intervention, it's just like, or any traditional peoples over the world, if you look at what they were eating before, like maybe the Western food culture sort of come in, like they're obviously a hell of a lot healthier before we started eating crap anyway. So, yeah. I mean, I just look at that. That's what I look at for like the true sort of optimal diet.
Absolutely. I saw a picture yesterday of 2 Aboriginal blokes, and they were like both over 6 foot, absolutely ripped. You look at like Vanuatu, Fiji, and then the real sad cases of places like Niue and Tokelau, and even to some extent Tonga and Samoa, that have been, like I say, westernized, and it's just a completely flip-flop of their true potential, and it's such a shame. And you know, Peter highlighted that in the Magic Pill, that this group up north that, you know, had been westernized and things went to crap, and then he pointed out to them, or the group that is recording pointed out to them, that it's, you know, actually about real food and whole food, and they're like, oh, this is what we used to eat. And it's like, well, you know, you're doing things right. And Ray Kelly said the same. You know, he's Aboriginal himself, and working with the community, it's just about going back to basics. And if anybody's looking for a good channel to follow, Helen Petterin, who's written a few of the books with Pete Evans, the gut health one, and the baby yum yum, which Alex and I have been using quite a lot. It has some delicious meals that Billy just laps up. I fed her some mince and liver today with a sweet potato, and she hoed through it. I was like, holy cow, I needed to make more of that. Yeah, you just, you know, look at those whole foods, and like Sean and Pete were talking about, you know, you look at babies and you give, you know, I give Billy bacon, and she's just like, oh my God, give me more of that. Or for my birthday, we were at Harvest in Uribar, and we got the roast lamb, Dorper lamb, which is insane if you're over there. And yeah, she was just like sucking it down. She was only about 6 months old then, and only just starting to eat food. And, you know, and same on Christmas Day, she had the turkey fat, and it was just like, oh, this is the best. And, you know, then you try to feed her broccoli, and she's like, oh, I'm not so sure about this. It's just pretty amazing.
Yeah, I really think there's something to that, because even in my family, I remember being a kid and like seeing my younger brothers and sisters, like, you know, just you'd sit at the table for 2 hours and they'd be pushing the veggies around, but the meat was already gone. They'd be pushing the veggies around, like, you know, they didn't really want to eat them. And then just recently I went and caught up with a really good friend of mine in Brisbane, and I was there, and he was sort of like, yeah, I don't know, like his kids weren't really eating too much. And I think even he sort of thought, he's like, oh yeah, they don't really eat too much. And I thought, oh yeah. Anyway, so I was in the backyard cooking up a big old T-bone steak, and his son come out and he pretty much ate my whole T-bone on me, and I was like, huh. And even my mate, he was like, he just like didn't know what to say. He's like looking out, and he's like, whoa. And like, because his son just ate a whole like nearly one of my whole T-bones, and they were huge. It was like 2 inches thick. I was just like, Jesus, like what's going on here? So I think that made him scratch his head a bit. But then all that stuff you're talking about, kids like not wanting to eat veggies, was really running through my head at that time. I was like, yeah, rightio. Like there's something going on here. I was like, okay, this is interesting. So,
yeah. Just to finish up my report on Helen, she's up with some Indigenous people at the moment doing a similar thing that's on the magic pill and educating them. And yeah, she's putting up some good stuff on her Instagram stories. So have a look at that.
Actually, Helen's popped onto my radar recently. So yeah, I seen she was up there. So I'm pretty excited about that. Like I'd love to catch up when I go to Arnhem Land. Like I'd love to catch up with that group of people that are doing that. So that, yeah, anyway. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but yeah, that's definitely on my radar at the moment.
Awesome, moving in the same circles. I'm hoping to get her on when she gets back from up north, which would be awesome.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
One of the best things, and this is what I want to talk to her about, is at the end of her interview with Pete Evans, which was I think a month ago, they talked about playing and being a kid and just like really getting into it. And a few weeks ago, mate, you were covered in mud. What does that sort of do for your spirit, do for your soul to actually, get grubby, climb, in the job, you're climbing trees and dealing with trees and stuff. Like, what's that like, mate?
So a few years ago when I first got really sick, like obviously I had like pretty severe depression and anxiety and a lot of mental health issues and that. And it was all, like I'm sure there's a big puzzle piece there if you put it all together. But like I really started just getting back to like that was my whole thing, like stripping everything back, getting back to basics. And that's what I thought. I was like, you know what, like I'm going to get back to all the stuff I used to do when I was a kid and like just stuff it. Like who cares, life's too short. I'm just going to start getting back to all the things that I used to love as a kid. Because like at the time, like with the mental illness I had going on, like I was a shadow of a man. Like I wasn't really enjoying anything. Like food had no taste. I don't know, like, the whole world was really bland. So I really started getting back to the things I loved as a kid, like, going in the bush, walking barefoot, and unknowingly, like I definitely know now, but there's definitely more research there into mental health. Like I was listening to a podcast the other day and it's just like, like if you get back to the stuff, sort of more childish things that you enjoyed as a kid, like spending time in nature, like it's some of the biggest, mood enhancing stuff you can do. And I was thinking, wow, I was like, that's what I've basically been doing without thinking about it. Like I've, been out covering myself in mud, but although like to justify that, like there was a purpose. I was just trying some like natural camo and, but to be honest, it's definitely something I would have done as a kid. And that's basically why I did it too. I was like, oh, this will be a bit of a laugh. But getting back to all that stuff, like there's definitely something there in improving mental health, of like getting back to that shameless, those kind of acts of, those sort of fun, playful things. Like there's
No, it's good to try to be barefoot as much as I can. And going back to Adam Greentree, he's got a thing on his Instagram, keep it clean. And this morning picked up a few cans off the beach and things. But Wednesday morning, someone on New Year's had chucked a couple of good quality deck chairs over the walkway and into the bushes. And, I sort of thought, someone should get those. And then I walked past on Wednesday morning and they're still there. I was like, I'll get those. And it meant jumping over the railing and climbing down into the bushes and grabbing them out and throwing them back up. And, you can, this is partly what I think like training CrossFit's for, is that you can train to be, fit for life and like do anything. Like I want to be able to like go climb a mountain or run a mountain, like chase animals or climb a tree or anything like that, like you would as a kid. And that was the same thing. But at the same time, I was absolutely packing myself because I was barefoot and there's dragons and lizards all around there and brown snakes around there, and I didn't know what spiders were. And I was like, this is like being on a mini adventure for 5 minutes in my morning. And exactly right. You threw it up there like, oh my God, I just did that. I wasn't that one, probably hundreds of people walk past those chairs and go, oh, that's a shame. They're down there, but I actually got it and jumped down there and had to walk along the branches and stuff. But I was just like, this was really fun.
Yeah, there's definitely something really, like even the act of kindness, or like just doing a good act like that. Like, I mean, there's definitely something mood enhancing about doing those kind of things. Like whether like whether you're picking up some rubbish, like that feeling that and you're doing something good. Like there's definitely something, like mood enhancing about doing those kind of things. Definitely.
Yeah, man. And so you were saying about mental health here with your own issues, and you said to me that the reason you had to leave Keegan's was for your brother, and then going full circle there with your experiences with Carnival, you and him are going to go up north and try either that way and see what happens. Is that giving him a purpose as well, do you think?
Yeah, 100%. Like I've been slightly working with my brother over the last few years, because around the time that my health went downhill, his health also declined, and he has been suffering with like a lot of mental health issues and that. And we've played around with a few things over the time, and it's definitely helped, and he's definitely in a lot better position now. But the problem is with anyone in that position. So my brother's I guess you'd say he's an addict, like he's an alcoholic. And to be honest, I don't think that's the right term to put on him, because I don't think at the end of the day that's what's wrong with him. It's just like maybe he's living a life in a way that he's not meant to be living. And I don't know. But yeah, anyway, let's just say so my brother's been battling with mental illness, and I've tried to show him a few things that have really worked for me. And there's definitely been a hell of a lot of improvement. Like the guy that my brother was a few years ago and the guy that he is now is totally different. But the problem is when one thing I've definitely found is that when someone's in that position that he is in, you can't really force them to do anything. Like you can't reach out and be like, oh, this would be good for you. You need to do this, or like you need to stop drinking. Like it just doesn't work. Like if someone doesn't want to be fixed, then there's nothing you can do. Like you've just got to be there. So I guess for the last few years, I've just been there in his journey and just like, but yeah, so I was at Keegan's, and I had planned to hang around there a little bit longer, but yeah, my brother, I thought he was pretty fine at the moment, but I guess he definitely wasn't feeling the best lately. And for the first time since he's been sick, he reached out to me and he said, look, I'm not enjoying life. I'm feeling a little bit suicidal. Like I'm not, like he obviously doesn't want to feel that way. And he's been, like my brother looks up to some of the stuff I do, and he's just like he's like, look, man, I think I need to go north. I need to get out in the bush. And I was just like, yep, right. So I packed my car that day, gone, bang, come home. Because for him to be in that position of actually reaching out and wanting help, like, I mean, that's just such a huge thing for him to reach out. Like he obviously wants to get better. And I'd have to say in my time being up north, like it was very healing, like being out in the bush and just, like you really get to take a good hard look at yourself. And I think he's obviously ready for that stage in his health journey of like getting out into nature and starting to heal. So yeah, I just thought, oh great, like this is definitely the right time. Like it didn't matter if it was the right time or the wrong time, but I mean, if he's feeling down and out, like I wouldn't be able to, like I just had to. That's just what I do for family. So yeah, I just come up, picked him up, and we're currently gearing up our cars. So yeah, like that's the plan. We're gonna head north, go bush, and just start maybe changing some bad habits to some good habits. Maybe like definitely start practicing the Wim Hof every day. And I definitely think that some of my brother's issues are probably stomach and food related. So he's been eating pretty well close to paleo, and obviously he feels awesome. And whenever he starts to step away from that way of eating and going back to eating bread and maybe not so good foods, he starts to decline a bit. And I haven't actually had the situation where I've been able to spend a lot of time with him, like every day, to like make these make healthy habits with him and like really ingrain them. So I thought, yeah, like it'd be perfect to go up there and be there with him one-on-one, like practice the Wim Hof every day, start exercising, like just really start to create some healthy brain pathways and just see what happens. Like, I'm obviously not a doctor and I'm not a psychologist, but I mean, going bush seemed to work for me, and it's what my brother thinks will help him. So I thought, yeah, like I'm keen to see what happens, and whatever the case, it can only be good that comes from it, I think. So
absolutely. And you know, I'm no psychologist either, but you know, yeah, from various things I've listened to, you sort of hear that if to sort of break a bad habit, you need another habit to take its place. And like you say, if you're looking for some sort of escapism through alcohol or you know, something like that, having a different type of escapism, which is getting out and into the bush and into nature, that's a positive version of escapism. You know, can only make massive changes. And then, you know, you mentioned the Wim Hof method there, and that all sort of came out about Wim going into severe depression after his wife unfortunately committed suicide, and again it brought him back to nature, brought him back to life, and you know, as he says, it changes the brain chemistry of what he's doing, and it makes things, you know, feel great. And obviously strength, health and happiness, and the rest is bullshit. That was so good from Mark.
Exactly. Like like to be honest, like a lot of my health journey and a lot of the stuff I've been learning is because like years ago I felt helpless. Like my brother was, you know, he's like an alcoholic and he's really depressed and he's like off the rails, but there was just, it's like, what do you do? Like I felt helpless, like there's nothing I can do. So that really pushed me to really get into all this other stuff and this health stuff so much harder, because I felt that it wasn't just for me. I thought, like, I want to help other people. And that definitely was one of the big pushes why I wanted to help other people. It's just like, I don't want to be that like so many people, like maybe they have someone in their family that has mental illness, or they have someone who's like trying to like committed suicide, or like, it's just this worst feeling to be helpless. Like you just feel that there's nothing you can do to help someone in your family. And to an extent, until they want to help themselves, like maybe there isn't that much you can do. But I mean, to have the knowledge, and that's why at the moment I feel great. Like I'm not sitting around feeling helpless, like, oh, you know, like my poor brother, like, you know, he's in a bad position, but he's not at the moment. He's actually still in a pretty good position, but he just needs a bit more of a push. But like, yeah, just there's like, I know there's probably people out there and they have some in their family that, like, you know, maybe has depression or mental illness or something, and they feel helpless, like there's nothing they can do. But I feel I'm in a position now where I'm not in that position. Like I definitely know there's something that I can do to help my brother, because my brother, he won't go to a psychologist, he won't go to a doctor, he won't take the medication, because he just, in his heart, he just knows it's all bullshit. And he's tried that and it didn't work. So he just, and that seems to be like for some people, it just doesn't, it was definitely not working. I mean, like, yeah, you just got to look at the rates of suicide and depression and stuff in people. Like obviously if the medical system, like that, what they're doing, I mean, not to say that they're doing a bad thing, but I mean, that structure just doesn't seem to be helping that many people. Like there's obviously another piece missing that we're missing. So that's what I feel like. I'm in a position that I can show my brother something. So even if we go up north and he comes back and he still like starts drinking straight away, like that's okay. At least I've had a crack at showing him something. But I mean, to be honest, I don't think it's going to be that way. Like he's starting to get beyond that anyway. But it just it feels good to know that there's at least something that I can do to help, because in myself, like I had a lot of issues and it helped me. So it's just like, it's spending time in nature can't be bad for anyone. Like it can only be good. So yeah. We'll see what happens.
Mate, there's a lot to unpack there. Like, you know, one, you're creating a why of why you do things is to set a good example, and that helps other people, and then also that helps to keep you on the right track and keep you going and keep you healthy. And then just helping somebody else get in touch with their why. And I posted on Twitter yesterday, when someone comes in and they're a smoker, they know that smoking is bad for them, but they've just got this disconnect with the joy or the escape or the moment, and it might even be the deep breath, going back to Wim Hof, that they get from having the smoke that allows them to calm down. And I sort of, a couple of years ago, changed my tack from telling them what they already knew to trying to get sort of, I don't know, put a wedge in their thinking and ask them why. Why do you smoke? And quite often or not, people say, I don't know, and they've never thought about it, and it just goes full circle all the time. And that's what I put up a quote yesterday is, if someone has a why, they can almost overcome any how. And I think that was Viktor Frankl. It's just one of those things, and I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek's Start With Why, and that's why you and I resonate, because our why is the same thing. It's about improving people's lives and improving other people and being above yourself. And yeah, man, like I said, there's a lot to unpack with what you've just been through, but things that hugely resonate.
Yeah, that's it. Like when my brother actually contacted me a few days ago when I come up here, that was the thing. He said, like, he's feeling like probably I definitely know mentally he's in one of the better states that he's been for many years, but he's obviously still feeling crap, obviously, and he still feels there's something missing. And it was exactly what you just said. Like he said to me, he's like, I feel that I'm wasting my life. I don't have a purpose. And I think, trying to find a purpose is really important. And not to say that, I don't know. And I feel that, like, that's what I've found. I think my purpose, even if it's not my purpose, I want it to be my purpose, is to help people, because I know, it makes me feel good to be helping people. And so I thought, like, there's definitely something there with people that are in that position. Like there's like the lack of purpose and trying to find your purpose. So I think that's the journey.
Yeah, mate. And I know that's something that Alex has really struggled with since we had Billy, is, going from a life where you've got choices and opportunities and you can set goals that you can go after, to being full-time mum, and all of a sudden your purpose is to look after this child. That, like I say, it can take a while for that purpose to align with you, and when the feedback that you get from being a mother is constant, constant battle, constant second guessing, it just, even for me as a dad, constantly thinking about, what's the next step, what's the next thing we can do. But when I can take a breath and connect with that, one, it's temporary, and two, what I'm here for is to help make it okay, and help I don't know, fix it, or I don't know, that might be a pretty masculine word to say, is I'm going to fix it, but help out, I guess. It starts to be all right, and I definitely know there's times where Alex feels terrible, and other times where she feels amazing, and it gets easier. But man, when your why all of a sudden gets misaligned, you definitely start going to a dark place. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think even if you don't know your purpose, one thing that really seems to be that really resonates with me is that if you just, it's like you don't have to know who you are. You just have to find out sort of what you're not. And that if you start to, like, live your truth and be true to yourself, and just, I don't know, just start to get the ball rolling in what you feel the right direction, I guess the purpose kind of comes along with it. So that's what I've really been focusing on. I've just been living in my car traveling Australia, so I guess I can't say that I really knew what I was doing. But just through that, like, just meeting great people. And I think that's important too, like really trying to find your tribe. Like you surround yourself with people that are on this, that are like, even if you don't know the path you're on, if you surround yourself with people that you really resonate with, and I mean, like you probably, like, you know, you bounce back stuff off them, and you're like, oh yeah, wow. Like you start to slowly find some direction in the path that maybe you should be taking. And I think that's been awesome so I guess my travels around Australia hasn't just been one big holiday. Like I guess in some way it's been steering me into the direction that I seem to be taking, just by meeting great people in that are like-minded. Because I mean, most people that just throw everything away and go traveling, you know, like they're going in a certain direction, and they're going in the same direction that I'm kind of going. So it's been great to meet those kind of people like yourself, Keegan Smith, like to actually start to get to interact and talk to people that are heading in the direction that I want to head. Like I think that really helps you find your direction and your purpose. Like, yeah, finding your tribe, that's definitely, you know, like it really helps you start pointing you in the right direction. That's for sure, I reckon.
Absolutely. And it's a fantastic book, Tribe. But it's definitely something that's been highlighted about what happened there, mate. lost
someone didn't pay the power bill. That's so good.
Yeah, no, it looks good. It's a change up.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what's been, I guess, hard about moving to Berlin, and it's probably something that you're well aware of it on your travels, is that step to try and find your tribe and try and find the people that resonate with you can be quite difficult and quite isolating. And that was something I heard the other day, that the beautiful thing about adventure is not so much the places that you go, but what you learn about yourself and what you can go through. And on top of that was a thought that has really helped me when I've been training, is that pain is an experience that you've already been through. And I just, when I'm in the gym, it allows me to just do so much more. It's like, I've already had that. It's already gone. And it's, I think, I don't know, because, you know, my hard times at the moment aren't really that hard on the big scheme of things, but that might be something really powerful for someone who is going through a hard time, that the pain that you're feeling has already happened, and whatever happens next is whatever. And that might be the sort of reframe that somebody needs to move forward into a positive direction.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think that's one of the best things about actually like starting to do things, and that's the best thing about, like, you've come over here. Like, I'm sure that would have been a hell of a big unknown, a big maybe. Like, you had no idea how it was going to turn out, but like, it's great. Like, at least then you know. Like, like you either, you know, you don't know until you give it a go. And it's the same with like exercising and all these things. It's like you're testing your limits. But unless you test your limits, you never know your true potential. So yeah, like that's definitely something about exercising, and I think that's why it definitely has mood enhancing benefits, is because like you start to push your limits and you test yourself, and you start to find things out about yourself that you didn't know before. As silly as that probably sounds about exercise, but you do. You're like, oh yeah, like I didn't know I could do that before.
Yeah,
there's something really important. It's the same as traveling. Like like I know so many people that would be like, oh yeah, I would never go traveling, like, because it's unknown, like it's scary, it's big, but that's what's great. Like, you got to step outside your comfort zone to find out who you are.
Mate, and that's the same with going bush. At the time, it can be absolutely hell. Like, the last big expedition I went on, we ended up walking 18 k's out just because there was nothing there. But at the same time, I look back on it, and it was one of the greatest moments that I've done. You know, we going 18 k's up a river with steep banks through dense bush, and you know, it was muddy. Then we got there and spent 24 hours in a tent in torrential rain, sitting underneath a waterfall, going, I hope this thing doesn't wash us away. But you know, at the time, we were like, oh, this sucks. But actually, it was one of the greatest things I've ever done, and look back on it really fondly. And it's funny how, you know, at the time we can be negative, and I think that's something that I constantly remind myself, is that right now I'm going to look back on this fondly. This hard time.
That's exactly it. It's just like, you never look back on that time. You're like, oh, I went through that really nice, gentle walk through that park. You'll remember, oh, that time it rained and I was stuck out in the bush in the mud and it sucked and it was cold. Like, that's what you remember. Like, at the time, you don't, it's not maybe it's not like the best experience, but that's what you look back on and you're like, yeah, like that actually was a bloody good experience.
Yeah.
Like, it's the tough times that you look back on. That's what you enjoy. Like those really things that push your body. Like, that's what you look back on and you actually enjoy, for sure. So
yeah, and it's the same. That's what I think is the switch that's managed to get me out of bed in the morning now, is that I think that in an hour and a half's time, I'm going to feel freaking awesome. I'm going to be exhausted, but I'm going to feel freaking awesome. So let's do this. And yeah, again, another example which I bring up often is the time that I pushed myself to absolute fatigue and I couldn't move anymore. It was one of the greatest lessons I've ever had in my life, is that, you know, even when you think you're tired, there's so much more that you can go to.
Actually, I see you had the great Ninja Steve on the other day.
Yeah, mate.
And I listened to it and I loved his expression when he was saying about the cold showers, when he said, like, every day he's hesitant, like he knows it's going to suck, but he does it anyway. Like, he's like, oh, maybe I'll just start out with a bit of hot water and then I'll go to cold. And I laughed so hard because I thought that's exactly how I think about it every day. Like, I know it's going to suck and I'm like, maybe I'll start out with some hot and then I'll go cold. And I just thought it was awesome to know that I'm not the only one. I was like, oh, I'm glad I'm not the only one who thinks this sucks every day. But then after, you feel awesome. Like, you absolutely know, like, you're just going to win the day. Like, you feel absolutely bloody awesome after you do that cold shower. Like, you feel so good, or a cold swim, or whatever it may be. Like, you feel awesome after you do it. And I love that when he said that. I thought, yes, like, that resonated so hard.
Yeah, mate, I'm exactly the same. And I think if you do go the hot, it's even worse.
Yeah, I think so. You don't get the same benefit, I don't reckon, when you do the hot first. Like, it makes things worse.
Yeah. Mate, we've been talking for ages and it's been bloody awesome. And I knew we'd have heaps to talk about now because we've been following each other quite closely since we talked last year. You're still available just on Adam Kavanagh on Instagram?
Yep, that's the one.
Mate, and what can people look forward to over the next few weeks as you go north? Are you going to be able to share the journey, or is it going to be something that you'll come back to and share later?
I'm thinking normally I don't share too much of the stuff I've been doing, but I've definitely had a lot of people reaching out and they're pretty, like, you know, they want to see a bit more. And I mean, my whole thing about what I do and stuff is, like, you got to enjoy your life and you got to enjoy the moment. And I think that's the big thing. Like, a lot of people you'll see walking around filming themselves doing bloody everything, and I know that's not what you're getting at, but I mean, just in general, like, I think you definitely have to enjoy the moment. But I think this time round, I'll definitely try to show a bit more, because I think it's important that people see, like, maybe a bit more what's going on. And especially with taking my brother up with me this time, like, I think it's going to be, you know, for good or bad, I think it's going to be good to show that experience. So yeah, I think I'll be showing a bit more. And I reckon I'm going to start, well, obviously I hunt a lot, you know, I'm right into the hunting, but I haven't really shown that before. And I think a lot of people that reach out to me, like, they're really curious about the hunting and that sort of stuff. So I think it's, I think it's definitely important. I think definitely, mate. I think I'm going to start showing a bit more. So look out.
Nice, mate. It's all about balance, and I love what you said there about being present in the moment. It's something I've started to try to do a bit more of. I've adapted my iPhone to be really sort of, it takes a lot of steps to get onto social media, and I've changed the screen time to be sort of 25 minutes a day of social media. And, you know, you can unlock that if you need to, but it just means that when you've gone through 3 screens to get to where you're at, you just sort of go, how do I really need to be on here? Let's be present in the moment. And I love that, man. All the best up there. And this was bloody awesome. Thanks heaps for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me back on again, man. Like, it's a bit of a bummer we didn't get to meet up, but I reckon, yeah, I'm wherever you are. I reckon definitely, like, we'll definitely catch up one day. But yeah, thanks for having me on, man. It's been awesome.
Epic.